I wanted to also just focus a bit more on Sydney, specifically the queer community, and how I find it, well, I personally find it very intergenerational. I want to hear about, like, have you found it a thing? Like, do you care about the intergenerationalness of our community, or, like, has it benefited you? Or maybe for you two, like Megan and Matt, maybe you find it like a bit jarring that there are so many young people that come into these spaces. Like, I just want to hear from your experience in terms of having elders who are so present and active in our spaces or in the queer community, and what's your experience of that? So I'll probably start with you, Mia.
Well, in my personal experience, I feel like I've been very held by queer elders, and I've been very grateful to know queer elders, because if it weren't for them, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be living my truth, and I wouldn't be comfortable in living my truth. I feel like a lot of the time, queer elders have held a lot of knowledge and space, and led as an example of a lifestyle, a way of life, or just the existence of how I can be and how I can exist. And I've really, I look up to my queer elders, and really, I'm very grateful for them, because I never really had that growing up, and it just became a lot of repression, and no one around me that said, hey, it's okay. You're amazing, you're fabulous, you're sexy, and you're a slut. And I feel like I'm finally in a space now where I can reclaim my power and reclaim who I am because of my elders.
Estelle?
I think for a lot of like young First Nations queer peoples, we have to flock to cities because of what colonisation has done to our own like local understandings of queerness. For me, it's like I think like I don't view my transness as like a new, like very like random thing that's happened to me. It's like transness was within my culture and has been for longer than white people and boats got to this place.
Period.
And like it breaks my heart to think that like young trans people are growing up without their culture taking them in and going like, you actually had a place here. Like you are important, you are valued, you are cared for. And a lot of us are having to come to the cities because we don't have that back home. It's unsafe for us back home, which is really like, it breaks my heart, right? It's like one of the ways that colonialism wins, by like preying on the intersections and then pushing us away so we can't band together and like repair what damage has been done to country and to culture. And so like because I moved from WA, I moved from Perth, I turned 18 and I was like, this is not the space for me. Like it's not my country, it's not where I'm from. Like I need to go back to New South Wales. And so like very young 18-year-old me, not really connected to people here, feeling very outsider. Like I grew up very alone in my early teenage years after I'd transitioned. And I think like as kind of time has come past and I've been more affirmed in who I am at the intersections of my existence, I've had more energy to then reach out and to like connect to community here. And like sister girls and brother boys, especially our older aunties and uncles, like they are the most powerful people that I ever get to spend time with. They are staunch, they are resilient. And these are people that have been fighting for the rights that I'm fighting for now, like for 40 years, you know, and they like fight for issues surrounding racism as well as issues surrounding their transness. And so I'm really, really honoured and glad that I get to share space with my aunties. And, you know, even if sometimes it's like a smack in the back of the head because I fuck up, like it's almost like a hug, right? Exactly.
That, yes.
Like to keep us in line because it's like they've seen so much. And a couple of weeks ago we had like curry grass here, and seeing like the real intergenerational kind of attachment to our own understandings of our queerness as First Nations peoples was really, really special. And so I think like I love that I get to share space with our old people, and our old people are so important and so integral to who I am. Yeah, that I feel really blessed that I get to share space with them.
Yeah. And also, Matt, I just wanted to, with Megan and you, I wanted to also, like, if you could include, like, your experience with activism as well.
I think that there's something about Sydney which, like intrinsically holds space for a transferal of knowledge and wisdom and dance and performance and communication that is really significantly a part of the beautiful Eora country that we're on. First and foremost, like after running screaming from the country New South Wales when I was about, I think 23, and I moved to Sydney, and I think it was 1993, I kind of just hit the tail end of the AIDS crisis. So I had a very strange connection to, I mean, I would say the gay scene back then more so than the queer scene, although that quickly happened mid-90s. But there wasn't actually a lot of older men around, or older, like particularly men, because a lot of people had died. And the slow kind of, transition of actually, I think, becoming kind of like an elder, I suppose, just was, I didn't sort of think about it or question it. It was just, this is just how it rolls here. And there's older people, and there's there's mixed race, and there's mixed, it's a mixed crowd, and people, I think that Sydney holds a space for marginalisation, I think, which is really special. And it's rough and it's problematic and it's like all the things, but there is a very tangible kind of thread that holds generations together in Sydney, I think. And I think that we all just slip into it. Yeah. I have never questioned it. I've never kind of sat back and thought, why are there like old people in this room and young people in this room? Like, it just seems really normal. But I go somewhere else, like Nam, for example, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. Like, I'm getting called out for being a white person, but also... Also, I'm like the oldest person by 30 years. So, I don't know. Like, I think we're very lucky. Like, we're so fucking lucky. And when I first arrived at Sydney felt kind of alienating. Like, I didn't really fit into the queer scene. I didn't find the gay scene really that accommodating. There was a real set of like rules around like presentation and how to act and what you were supposed to do. And I think by the time the mid-90s came around, we had Cookie, and suddenly it was like, oh my God, we're here. Like, here we are, It's...
Well, I wanted to also ask, like, because Monster Grass, amazing. My first experience of Monster Grass, I think I died and then came back to life. Like, for me personally, like, growing up, Western Sydney never really connected with, like, the queer community, the gay community, I would say. So then when I came to Monster Grass, I was like, this is our music. This is, like, I can come here as, like, an Eshe girl and have fun. And there's art everywhere. And there was, like, a lot of community that I was, like, I wouldn't expect, knowing... like, having my perception of, like, the gay community here, I wouldn't have expected those people to be all in one place. Yeah. So talk to me about Monster Grass from then to now.
Well, I want to touch on that as well, that kind of, like, the way that Greater Sydney suddenly became connected 10 years ago.
What the hell?
That was the most magical thing that could have fucking happened to Sydney, I swear to God. Like, and... all leading up to that, it was still cool. Like, you were in a place and there was like different people and there was different identities and it was mixed. But just the way that like Western Sydney and what it's brought to the table, that's shifted so many things. It's just like an absolute joy to behold. Like, and one of the best things to happen to Sydney, actually ever.
Shout out Western Sydney.
Truly.
No, but hello, let's talk about the party though. How was it back then to now?
I think, it's hard to talk about Monster Grass without Justin Shoulder being next to me, but Monster Grass kind of came out of like a period of the early 2000s of actually just putting on really hectic kind of probo burlesque kind of shows and actually kind of thinking about what a party to honour all the different people that have come out of that scene, which are like a lot of the best, international artists that are fucking traveling around the world now. Well, will be again soon. And so we just decided to put an arts costume ball on. And then I think Monster Grass just in the way that when you're holding that much space for that many different types of people, you have to just sit back and just listen. And like let it go where it needs to go and not guide it, because Monster Grass was never, ever, ever something to make money from. Like, we weren't club promoters. It had nothing to do with that at all. It was actually just like a fucking good party because we're sick of shit ones. And so, it's a difficult space to hold. It's part of the reason why I don't think I have the capabilities to hold that space anymore. But I think the key with Monster Grass was just actually having all the channels open and inviting people in. And like Monster Grass was, like, if you were going to do anything at Monster Grass, you had to come up, like whether you were from Brisbane or from Nam, you had to come up for weeks prior and like set the intention for the space and for the party and sit in the studio and make shit and like all of those things, like going out and having a dance, whatever, but the intention of casting the spells that create the night and hold that space, that's the important part. And that's the thing that when someone has like, you know, said to me this year, don't you miss Monster Grind? I was like, well, I got to get in the studio and make an outfit, so no, I don't.
Period. Yeah, it's transferable, exactly.